What's good? This is the ChoppedByT podcast where we give you real, raw, authentic barbershop conversations. I am your host, T. And to the far right of me, we got my brother, man.
What up?
Sco. And in the middle, man, we got a special guest, somebody who I had to beg to get on here. But I'm glad she's here now so she can put us up on some game, teach us some stuff, man. Adrienne, how you feeling?
Good.
She is nervous. Look at her face. Oh,
Don't call it out.
Listen, man. Hey, you could be comfortable here. This is what we have, like I said, real raw, authentic conversations, man. We really just genuinely want to hear about you, your story, your opinions. Let's get right into it. Who are you? Oh, my bad. We got Demo in the back. The smooth sounds of Demo.
I didn't get to talk on the last episode, so
My boy's ready and willing, like a hooker.
What up?
Yeah. I get a good joke every now and then. I do all right.
I'm picking it up.
But anyway, man, we got Adrienne here, man. Man, how you feeling? You feeling good?
I'm
You
good.
feeling all right? Man, I want to hear about your story. I want to hear about you. Tell the people who you are. I don't think as long as I've known you now, I never really just heard your story like that. Maybe because I'm so full of
Probably
myself.
not.
That could be what it is. I only want people to hear about me. But what's your story? Who are you? Where you come from? What's going
That's
on?
deep.
It's deep. Well, hey, listen. Hey, we ready. We got number time.
I mean, I would say, like, y'all asked me to be on here and talk about, just being Asian and stuff. And it's something, like, we really don't think about. I feel like as Asians, it's just, like, kind of a weird identity thing, with growing up. Well, okay, so let's start, like, I was born in Columbia, Tennessee, and then I think we moved out to Antioch real short after that. So I was in Antioch all my life, up until like freshman year when we moved to Nolensville or whatever. But went to the same school from when I was 4 till I graduated. So that was how me and y'all know B-Dub. That's how we've known each other. We've been at the same school since we were 4. And so, yeah, kind of going back to what I was talking about, just there's not a lot of Asians in
Tennessee.
in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, we have our own little communities. Okay, so my parents migrated. My dad was like in physical therapy. My mom's a nurse, and so over there, like, they go to school, and then I guess they get put into like agencies where they can get a job out here and stuff. So they have to come out here and like take the test and whatever. So I'm a first generation, Asian. Like, I don't have no family here. I have one aunt in New York, and that's it. So basically, like, all of our parents who migrated out here, we have like our own. I mean, that's who I call my family. That's who we spend all our holidays with. There's about 30 of us. So it's like 7 families that I've known all my life. But yeah, like, going to, can I say like the school I went to, or is that weird?
I mean, if you want to, yeah.
Okay, well, I went to a Christian school in Antioch. I'll say that. So, tiny school, graduated with 24 people, which I'm sure y'all two know that. But
Whoa, wow.
we had,
I feel attacked.
yeah.
Listen,
She Slick just came at y'all's
she came at
whole,
Bolivar.
Like,
I feel like she just came at Bolivar.
Because I know for a fact y'all had more than 24
We
people.
had more than 24
Yes,
at Bolivar.
I know that for a fact.
I know y'all know because y'all come from that little ass school in Bolivar.
No, I meant because y'all know me and Dub.
Oh, we know y'all. Hey, listen.
No.
Let's clear it up now.
No.
B-Town, well, I mean, we had 100
Brandon.
pieces, maybe.
No, because when people say, like, I went to a small school, I'm like, I probably got you beat.
Right. Can you hit that fan from me,
'Cause
Demo?
we had one hallway, 7th through 12th grade. So
Cut it all the way up.
it was, so yeah, there
was
wasn't
small.
that many Asians. Like, I had one other Asian girl in my class. There probably was maybe like one every other grade kind of thing. So yeah, just kind of like bringing me on this topic, it just was something that I never really thought about. And so over the last few days, I've definitely been trying to educate myself as far as like just my own stuff, how I really feel about all this, like you said, like, what's your story? And like, what is my story? So yeah, I don't know.
You said your parents. You said your parents came from, or you said your parents graduated or migrated, and you were born in Colombia. Like, so specify or be specific about what type of like Asian background. Where did they migrate
where
from?
did they come
Oh, okay. Well, I'm from the Philippines. Well, my family's from the Philippines, so I'm Filipino. Still Asian, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I thought you were Asian." Like, same shit. Yeah. So they went to school there, graduated there, came here, took their test. My dad actually ended up not passing for physical therapy, so he has some other jobs and stuff. But my mom's still a nurse, and that's a big thing. Like with Asians, is like having to be in the health field, you know, because it's the most stable. Like everyone's always going to be, like people are always going to be sick. So it's something that is always going to be needed. So as far as like what our options are is usually like nursing, or like if you want to be a doctor, that, you know, kind of that route.
And we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into everything what we brought you here for. But specifically, I just wanted to know about you. That's interesting. So, like, you had, like, 30 other families to come over here with you?
Well,
Or
so there's, like,
go?
our group is, like, 30 of us, like, that we
Oh.
call our fam, like, spend all the holidays with. But there's a pretty big, like, Filipino community out here. I was lucky enough because I was, like, one of the first, like, children. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Filipinos have been migrating for a long time, but just as far as like all the ones that I know, I was like the first one. And then we used to own a little Oriental store. So that was like how we met a bunch of people. So I know like that our community is like pretty big. But yeah.
That's interesting. So, okay, when you came over, what's the, and you may not have known because you first generation, you were born here, right?
Right.
So, what have your parents ever told you, like, the process of coming up? Did they have, like, a host family? Did they just come? Do you know?
So, I'm pretty sure, because, like, right now my dad works for an agency where, like, whenever Filipinos do, well, really it's not just Filipinos, it's, like, all immigrants that come to be a nurse and stuff. So then they go through this agency, and then the agency, like, helps them, like, once they take their tests and stuff, they are assigned to like a state that needs, you know, more nurses and stuff. So yeah, that's essentially how it went. Like they came, they got assigned. So I think originally we were all in Columbia because a lot of us in our group were born in Columbia, Tennessee. And then, yeah, I'm not really sure how we like split up into like Antioch, Nashville and all that.
Gotcha.
Growing up, like, was it like a culture shock for you?
Well, she was born here, so that's pretty much all she knows, it seemed like, probably.
Oh, yeah, I'm tripping.
But, I mean, I will say, like, in our household, my parents always spoken Filipino to me.
Right,
so
that's what I'm
hearing.
when I
Gotcha.
did go to school, that was, like, because I started when I was 4, so I was in preschool. But I remember my mom said, like, one time, I guess she had got called in or whatever because I was, like, mixing my English and Filipino and stuff. So that was, like,
That's funny.
a thing, but I don't remember all that.
Right. You probably cussing somebody out, huh?
Right.
Just like keep hitting this.
Maybe, but it's
I don't know.
just imagining that. But I mean, just listen. It's such something that we don't really take the time out to. It's like we live. I think I said this on one podcast. We live in our own space, right? We just all live in our own bubble, but we don't realize, like, literally, it's a group of people or people, like different types of cultures that had to come over here and they experienced America, and it's just how much of a shock that could be for them. And that's kind of why we brought you on today, to kind of get your perspective, because you can kind of give it both ways. Because you can give it from, you know, a first generation that was literally born here, but you can also give like a step into the culture. One thing, you go back to the Philippines? How do they treat you when you go there? Is it like?
So for me, okay, so like I said, our group of 30, like I'm the only one that's been as many times as I have. A lot of them, like they've probably gone maybe like 3-4 times in their life. So I'm lucky that I'm like really close with my family, and I'm also one of the few that can speak fluently. So when I go there, you know, I try not to, like, you know, some people, okay, Filipinos like to, you know, whenever they come to America, they act like, all right, well, you know, I done made it, like, they like to show that stuff off and stuff. But when I go, like, I don't want them to feel any different. So I'm even like uncomfortable sometimes going in places and like, you know, I know they say when you if you don't use it, you lose it, like language wise. So I know mine's not as great as it used to be. So sometimes even I'm like embarrassed going out with my cousins' friends and stuff because I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're gonna know
They can
that
spot
I'm
it.
American.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem. Like they love Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, they could probably. They probably can spot you from a mile away though, huh? Just like as American Filipino, they can spot you from a mile away.
I mean, I know when I talk, they
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
are like,
Gotcha. It's just a different energy, I think, that you will probably carry just going over there as an American. Not necessarily a good one or a bad one, but it's just like a different type of vibe that you have going over there.
Yeah.
Just I want to go back into what Scott said as far as like with culture and everything like that. So I guess coming in, I really want to learn more about the experience with the 30 families and everything like that. And
30 people.
30 people. It's 30
7
people.
families.
Yeah, 30 people.
30 people, 7 families. Gotcha. I want to learn more about that. So, all right. And you said you pretty much treat them as your family. Did your parents already know them before coming over? Or?
So a lot of them, because a lot of them are physical therapists and like still are. So they pretty much were in like essentially like the same class, you know, like kind of like when you first get a job is like the people you started with kind of thing. So that's essentially how it was for a bunch of them. And then like I said, the other half are like mostly nurses. So same thing with them too. So that was kind of like how we met. And they, you know, obviously like came from nothing. So since our family was like one of the first ones, like when other people would come in, Filipinos are like super hospitable. Yeah. So, you know, they see other people struggling, they're like, hey, like we got you, you know, even if we don't have nothing, like we'll share what we do have. Yeah. So my parents are really big on that, which is why I think we know so many people now. But essentially like that's how our group got together, just kind of all leaning on each other as they started to get established in their own jobs and stuff.
That's dope.
Gotcha.
I think in hearing your story reminds me of, I'm thinking of Africans. I know a lot of African people who, you know, come from West Africa, different things like that. And for them, you know, in hearing you say like they can spot, you know, for a lot of Filipino people that come to America, they think like, oh, you made it because you, and I think there's a negative connotation when it comes to Africans. Like African-born people think American-born black people, you know, they have this negative connotation. So, but I don't hear that when it comes to you. But there also seems to be like pressure to be, you know, a doctor, pressure to be an engineer, different things like that. Do you feel that pressure to be like a physical therapist or be, you know, a nurse or anything like that? Did you feel any of that pressure from the 30 people, you know, 7 families?
Yeah. Even still, you know, like that was like something that I like struggled with a lot. Getting ready to graduate high school and stuff, I knew like I don't want to be a nurse, which is like every time you hear like, oh, what are you doing? Like they're nurses, like Filipinos are like all nurses. It's just something that's known. So I knew like I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be what everybody else is doing just because like that was what we were supposed to do. Yeah. And it just like wasn't a calling for me. But at the same time, like it still was a lot of pressure to do what they wanted us to do, to like reach that level of success that they expect from you. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, all right, well, I guess physical therapy is like straight, you know. So I did go to school for exercise science originally. Went to UTC, like, just wasn't a great experience. Well, okay, going back to my school that I went to, like growing up, like it was easy, you know what I'm saying? It was a small school. Me and Brandon were like top of our class all the time, and we didn't even have to try, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not that like, oh, y'all are so smart and stuff, and that was what people told us all our lives, like, y'all are so smart and this and this, and like, at that school, from like 7th grade through 12th grade, you could exempt your classes or exempt your exams if you had like good grades and stuff, which is not a good thing because I never knew how to study for no big exams. So like college was kind of a big shock for me, and also going from like super small, like know every single person in the school, to being like nobody in college. So that was a big.
Because MT big.
Yeah.
But
I went to UTC first.
Yeah. And then to UMT.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And then I transferred over to MT. Yeah. But yeah, like was going through school, didn't love it. I'm not good at like science and all that stuff. You know, you realize like, okay, I'm really not as smart as like I thought I was. And so, so I struggled a lot with like, should I continue to like force myself to go down this path of like, that I don't love, and like, I'm probably going to fail because I didn't love it. Or do I talk to my parents and say, hey, I'm going to change my major, I'm going to change schools, like I don't want to do this no more. So I ended up going to nutrition and stuff, which was fine. But even still, like I do feel, you know, like not good enough, or I'm not like reaching what I was supposed to be or whatever. Because some Filipinos do make you feel that way. Like I remember when I graduated and somebody came up to me and was like, oh, so are you going to grad school? And I was like, I think I'm going to take a break. And he was like, why? Like, for what? You know, like you need to get on it and stuff. And that just wasn't me. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I felt like I'm not going to waste my money if I don't know what I want to do yet, and just go to school just to go to school and say I did it.
I wonder why that pressure is there though. Like, or is it the fact that you, like, I guess, because you're not necessarily an immigrant, but is it because of that mentality? Like, we come here to make a better life or whatever. Why is that pressure there, do you think?
For sure. Yeah. I would say, I think as like an Asian community in general, you know, like we do have, and I'm not going to like compare our hardships with like black people and stuff, but we do have a lot of like similar struggles and stuff.
Definitely.
But as a people, like we have to like just keep it, like, you know, internalize that stuff and like just deal with it. And like the only way that you can kind of like rise above all that is by being successful. You know, like it wasn't ever talked about like racism and all that stuff. It wasn't a big conversation in our home. It just like was something that was known. Like I don't know when, and that was something I was thinking about this week. Like I don't know when I became aware of like, oh, I'm not this, you know, me and white people aren't on the same level and stuff, but it just was something that was a known thing. And I remember my dad saying like, you know, they can say whatever they want about you, but if you have your degree, you're successful, then like they can't take that from you. You know, so like I think that's what it is just at the end of the day, like your success is all you have, and like stability, taking care of your family and stuff. So I think that's why like it's super important.
I was watching a show one time, and it was this Asian guy. He was a real estate agent, but all his family were doctors and stuff like that. And like he was good at what he did, but they still like looked down upon him. And he made millions of dollars, and he got basically trashed when he went to like the family dinners and stuff like that. He was making more money than them.
That's
almost.
a real thing, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also like a status thing too. I don't know. Like Asians are all about like that hierarchy and stuff. So, you know, you want to be able to say like, oh, I have a doctor in my family and whatever. So
status do come with like being a doctor though. So,
We had on just going back to that the Keenan's episode. He talked about the caste system that black people, you know, he said, in his opinion, black people just unfortunately fell at the bottom of that. And, you know, you talking about status kind of brought that up. Do you think that kind of status system, you know, exists in America? And do you think that's where the pressure comes from with Asians and Filipinos specifically?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, even like when you come here and stuff, you're expected to take care of your family at home. Like if you're not sending money back, sending big boxes of stuff back, like they're like, dang, you just gonna forget about us. So it's a lot of pressure for sure.
Is it what is the stat? Because I don't travel. I've never even been out of the country. So like the Philippines, how is it, like the conditions and everything like that?
So it's definitely like I wouldn't consider us third world because we have a lot of places that are up there. You know, like Manila, our capital. Like you go and parts of it are like damn near like Hollywood. You know, so our malls are huge. Like I brought Kobe from MT. Well, I brought Kobe with me to the Philippines one year because we were roommates at the time. But like we have our malls are like huge. You know, a 2-story mall is like small. So it's really like not what people think. But
depending on the area.
But poverty like definitely does exist. Like, I mean, we don't all live in huts, but people do live in huts. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, so you talked about something earlier in regards to just like white people and just realizing that like I want to, and this is what I want to go into because this is a part of the reason why we brought you here. Asian hate.
Yeah.
It's been a big thing in the news, social media, whatever lately. Mm-hmm. Asian hate. I just want to hear your opinion on it. Like, what do you think about it, or just face value? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, and I feel like is a really big kind of thing because, like I said, like as Asians, we don't talk about, like, we're not supposed to talk about our problems and like those challenges and stuff. And I feel like part of it is because, you know, Black people do go through so much, and it's like, okay, well, we can't complain about our stuff because y'all are going through worse things. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of times whenever we bring up, or like whenever things are brought up, people like tear it down, you know, like just the whole cancel culture and all that stuff. So as far as like the shootings and stuff, you know, I had somebody that the Asian that I went to like high school with, she had screenshotted one of our other high school mates Facebook statuses because she was like, you know, after the shootings happened, she was like, let's be real, like nobody's after Asians, you know, like Asians are the model minority. She's like, don't give in to all this like media shit trying to like stir things up, you know, because it just doesn't happen and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, how dare you say that? Because, okay, if you want to say that those shootings, like whatever, weren't racially motivated, which is like what a lot of like that side is trying to say, that, you know, it was his sex addiction, whatever the hell. Like, they try to say it's not racially motivated. I was like, okay, like, I'll give you that. Like, we don't know whatever his intentions were, but that doesn't negate everything else that has been going on for the last year. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that definitely isn't talked about as much. Just, yeah, all the stuff that is happening with the Asians. And, like, I
feel like ever since COVID hit, Trump was promoting Asian hate.
Yeah.
So, you know, people just want somebody to blame.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's going on right now.
But even with that, whatever that post that person made, like this, that was ignorant as hell. Yeah. Because because you think about it, you've probably experienced some sort of like racism towards you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in your life.
Yeah, I mean, like we move in groups. Like whenever we, like Father's Day, we always get together. We eat at this restaurant in Murfreesboro every year before COVID. Like that's 30 of us. Anytime we move, like I know people are eyeing us, you know, and also like us being Filipino, we're not like the most Asian. Like people mistake us for like Mexican all the time. Yeah. I mean, even other Asians have said like, oh, y'all are the Mexicans of the Asians. Like shit, like we're not even Asian enough to be with y'all, you know. So it is just kind of like a weird thing. But as far as racism, I mean, yeah, for sure. I know y'all talked about, you know, like with police and stuff and a few episodes ago. And like, I think the first time I ever even like realized that would happen to us. I mean, it wasn't even anything like crazy, but one time I remember I was in high school and my friend was driving and there was like, I think like 5 of us. We were in a van or whatever. We got pulled over and like he asked for every single one of our IDs and stuff. And it was like, for what? You know, like we're not driving.
That's what they do.
Yeah. So that was the first time I was ever like, wow, like y'all really don't look at us as equal. No. So yeah, I don't know. Like,
I think a big issue is white supremacy is the issue.
For sure.
You know, and this is the thing with you all too, like Asians, y'all have to deal with it not only from white people but black people as well. Yeah. Because when you come into the US is okay, I gotta think I'm probably finna fuck her name up. Jeannie Ma. Did I fuck her name up? I said it right.
I mean, Jeannie Ma, you talking about young Jeezy
wife. Yeah. She said something once that that stuck with me. She said that when we come over into the States and we got to make a decision of which side of history we want to be on. Yeah. Whether we want to be on the white side or the black side of history.
And that's so real.
That's real, right?
Because literally, that's what I was just talking to my roommate about. I was like, as an Asian, you're either like a white people Asian or you're a black people Asian, you know?
I noticed that.
Yeah, because there's really no in between. Like, you're either...
You don't get to be Asian.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And that's something that, like, my aunt, she says, like, you know, about one of the other girls in our group. She's just like, oh, like, she acts so white and all this stuff. And I was like, as opposed to what? Like, how do you want us to act? Right. Like, because if we act another way, like, oh, you're too ghetto and all this stuff, like, so what does it mean to be me?
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's the statement that she made. You know, you have to choose which side of history that you want to be on. I think that's kind of like a bad position for you guys to be in, because I mean, we talked about something off camera once, me and Skull. It was like there has been situations where it's been like I mean, we just seen in the news not too long ago where the black guy that in New York.
She was Filipino.
She was Filipino, and he like kicked her and pushed her down, like old lady. Like, you know, I'll speak as a black man for myself. That's kind of like one of those cringe moments when you see that. Like, come on, brother. Why did you just do that? Like, we don't need that. But those, I feel like Asians should be our allies, right? Especially Filipino, because from my understanding of it, and you can educate me on this because that's what we got you here to educate. Filipinos kind of within the Asian community as a whole, y'all kind of get like casted out a lot of the time.
For sure.
Because y'all seen as like the Mexican or whatever you just said earlier. So
it's like, you know, we don't like Filipinos. We don't eat with chopsticks and like
stuff like right.
Like things like that. Like we like a lot of other Asian cultures are like super into like vegetables and soups and all that stuff, and like we don't eat a lot of veggies. Like we eat, you know, like the pig and all that stuff. Like a lot of our, so Filipinos specifically, like we were colonized by Spain for like 200 years, which is why a lot of our language, you know, a lot of our culture is kind of like Hispanically influenced, which is why like we're not so Asian.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what sets us apart. But also like we're in Southeast Asia where, you know, our people are like darker. So like colorism is a thing all over the world.
Really?
So yeah.
Really?
I heard
it's nice to know. It's nice to know.
I heard
that is all over
as a fellow light skinned brother, it's nice to know I'm not alone.
I don't need you chiming in, Demo.
Colorism, you say?
No, for sure. Like Filipinos are, I don't know so much now. I think people are okay with being out in the sun and like being a little tanner, but being white, like white skinned is like something people strive for. Like a lot of our like beauty products are like bleaching products, you know, like our soaps have like different little bleaching components and stuff because they want to be white, like they want to be lighter, and the lighter you are, you know, that shows the more status you have. If you're darker, you're out in the sun more, you're working more. It's really like the same shit.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you something about them Europeans. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something about them motherfuckers. We talk shit about them, and we be upset with them, but we gotta respect the fact, like, what they did. Yeah. Like, even when we go back to what Keenan talked about last time, where we just so happen to be at the bottom of the whatever ladder or whatever, we gotta respect what they did, which is, you know, created this idea that lighter skin is better.
Have y'all seen the movie Inception?
Yes.
You know, it was basically the same thing. It was like a dream within a dream. They sowed seeds that were not even like, they created this idea in everybody's mind that the lighter you are, the easier it is for you, which couldn't be further from the truth because they pulled the darker skinned people because it was easier for us we were more immune to the sun. We could work harder. We were more valuable because of our skin color.
Because we could be in the sun.
But they sowed the seeds at the same time that said, if you are lighter, you're richer, you're more fair, you're you know, you at the top of the system. It's so crazy. Yeah, you just better.
Yeah. No, I and that kind of go into, you know, the question that I want to ask you, just the differences. I never knew that within the Asian community it was that division even with that. But Quay told me, because you know Quay, his girl is Laotian, right? Yeah, Laotian. She is considered he what did he say, country Asian and it's city Asian. I was like, well, it's just
you got like the jungle Asian.
The jungle, that's what it is. Jungle and city, jungle and city. Like so, y'all have that same thing. That to me, it's like, that to me is like, I'm like jungle, like what?
Yeah, if you ever
it's just like us calling African, like the ones that be in the woods and stuff, African booty scratchers,
or not even. It's more so. It's more so even like within the states, Northerners and Southerners.
Yeah, I was finna say even within Tennessee, Bolivar and Nashville. people in Nashville would consider people from Bolivar
country.
And we're like we're not country from the South. So that shit's so internalized. That shit crazy.
It's kind of like all parallel. That's why when you said earlier, even just talking in regards to just you try not to make our situation, the black people, the black plight. When you say you try not to make the Asian plight is like the black plight. I mean, listen, hate against anybody when it comes, especially white supremacists or anybody, period. People with any supremacist mentality, period, is a problem for everybody who seeks liberation for all.
For sure.
So,
I just wish everybody saw it like that. You know what I'm saying? Because even like looking on Twitter and stuff, there are a lot of black people that are like, oh, well, Asians can't talk. Like, they don't care about us, too.
Yeah.
And it really goes both ways. Because I know when I brought this up to my little brother and stuff, he was like, well, this has been going on to us for so long. He was like, why black people want to talk about it now, And that's something, too, like, it really, I don't know. And then I was, like, reading history, just trying to, like, kind of prep myself for this conversation anyways. Because, like I said, like, nobody's ever asked me this stuff. I never talked about what it means to be Asian in America. But looking at our history and stuff, it really was like, it all comes down to white supremacy. And like, even from the 1800s, they've been trying to pin us against each other. And I didn't even know all this stuff about, like, so I know how, like, black people get upset, like, oh, Asians are like making money off our people because they have stores, in like primarily like black neighborhoods and stuff. And I didn't ever know the history of all that, but then you go back to like the Exclusion Act in like the 1800s where they, removed all the Asians and stuff and put them in like relocation camps for a while. And then that also was like the same time that black people were starting to get more freedom. So they were moving into where the Asians had originally lived in. And so whenever the Asians were finally allowed like out of the camps, then they, started to move back to where they originally were, which is where all the black people were. So at that point, like, it
was like a clash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I mean, this is what we're here for, brother. Education.
That's crazy.
I think again, just going back to what we said, is so if we could get all on one accord and find some type of like medium, because I mean it is right. And me and my girl had this. Well, Ben Baller, I seen the thing with Ben Baller. Y'all know who Ben Baller is?
Yeah.
You know Ben Baller. He's like he's an Asian guy. I think he's Chinese though. Ben Baller. He's Chinese, and he does like jewelry and stuff like that. He real involved in like the hip hop world or whatever. Ben Baller. Okay. He made a comment the other day. He was like, Asian people need to, and I'm finna slaughter this, but pretty much and this is not verbatim, but pretty much he said Asian people need to realize the things that they've done to black people in the past and come to reckon with that, and we need to sit down and have a conversation so that we can all get on the same one accord to defeat the real enemy, which is white supremacy.
For sure.
I can agree with that, but it's levels to that as well, because we can't excuse the fact that this man just kicked and beat a Filipino lady out, and I don't think no real black man would agree with that. We can't get away from that as well.
He has to be held accountable.
But I think it is this situation where, and when I look at, listen, and you probably gonna be mad at me for this. When I look at Filipino people, I didn't even know y'all was Asian. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry.
Okay.
For the longest, I didn't. I thought that y'all were like some type of Mexican black almost. For the longest, that's what I thought. Like some sort of Afrocentric Mexican or something like that. That's what I really thought. Like, how the Afro Latina. That's what I thought Filipino people were.
Which, I mean, to the root of everything, like if you get to our real indigenous people, they're your color. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think that I think it goes both ways though, because you do have these situations where you go in these stores, and we've all experienced this, whether it's Koreans, whatever. You have these people that kind of look at us or follow us around the store or whatever. You have that as well. So it is a level of racism, but I want to make this point, and I want to make sure that I come across clear when I make this point. It all stems back to the ideologies of white supremacy, and that's like that black man, I can't speak for him, but more than likely, if he has some type of negative connotation in regards to like Asian people, it's probably because
that's where it came
placed
from.
on him through Trump or through any other like people, white supremacists. And that goes the same for that Asian lady who maybe followed you around the store, because Quay, because just like you did research, I had to do mine as well. So Quay, he kind of educated me on like his girl, which she's Laotian, and she told me that, how did she put it? Like when they come to these host families and stuff like that, a lot of times it's white families, and they'll get this negative thing in their head because they see it in media or whatever about black people. So they'll start to adopt, the negative things in regards to black people as well. So it goes both ways. I think the main thing in all of this is just stop hate.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stop racism.
Yeah.
And
And
love
just like
people,
the ignorance.
man.
Yeah, love people.
Yeah.
Because that was, again, like back to the whole whenever the blacks and the Asians were together because of like the whole Exclusion Act and stuff. They talked about how they really didn't have no beef. Like they were getting along. They were all friends and stuff. But then it was whenever they were trying to, I think like, so, they didn't want Asians to migrate because they said that they were taking all the jobs, which is like, and the whole like model minority concept, like all of that is made up by white supremacists. Yeah.
Facts, yeah.
And that was just to drive the wedge between like us, because I think also like there's so many of Asians like make up the biggest population.
Right.
So that probably was like, oh, they're going to take over. So that was to drive the wedge between like us and then all other minorities. So then they were only letting in like people that had like super high skill sets and all this stuff, or people that were, kind of like rich from, I can't remember if it was like Korea or something. So whenever they were coming here, because they were Asian too, they were never going to get to that level of wealth that they had when they were in Asia because of them being Asian. So that was why they could only open up shops in like impoverished places and stuff, which majority of the time at that time was like
Even
black
now,
communities.
still,
yeah,
black communities.
and then at the same time, like black people couldn't make it up because of how the system was like
Because of redlining
against
and
y'all.
laws and stuff like that.
So that was why there also was a lot of like tension between Asians being successful and stuff. But it just all comes down to the system that's like totally made up.
Yeah. Now, I think the moral of the story is that we have to get on one accord and we have to figure this thing out.
Absolutely.
And we have to fight the real enemy. I encourage everybody out there to do what I've been doing over the past couple weeks. And what you've been doing, I'm pretty sure you've been living in your whole life, is to educate yourself. Educate yourself, figure it out, try to see what's really the root of the problem, and just try to like eliminate some of the tension, because if we could because we're all minorities here, right? So if we could have that alliance, it would be no hope for these people who believe in these things.
Exactly. Yeah.
It all goes back to love and compassion for one another.
Yeah.
Man. Like, why not just have that for one another?
Yeah. Get to know me first. Like
Exactly.
Yeah. Relationships. Right. So
we are done with Asian hate. It is time to get down to the nitty gritty.
I mean, Asian hate wasn't nitty gritty. That was deep, and I'm gonna be honest. Thank you for educating us, because
For sure.
Yeah, like it was. Even now, and I'm pretty sure you have more information, and we would love to have you back to give us more of that. Because I don't. I would like, and I know it gets personal sometimes, I would like for you to really tell like real stories where you've had to experience, racism, whether it was from black people or white people.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes, listen, when I see black people doing bullshit, I say that brother is lost, because he's probably adopted some of the ways of his teacher. Of his master, if you will. I hate calling him my master. But, I mean, that's the reality. That's the word so people can understand it. But, like, I'll say that.
It's just ignorance.
It's ignorance.
It's really just ignorance.
I never see, because I'm from I don't know if it was even any Asian people in Bolivar, was it?
I met quite a few Asian people, and I can say
In Bolivar, I mean.
well, not in Bolivar.
Yeah.
But all of them been nice to me.
I never
met a mean Asian. Like, that was always nice. So
And when we when I came here and I got a chance to like go to the military with Haitians, I got a chance to do. It's like I always thought of them more so like it was like, you know how you got this little thing where you kind of go off to the side and you just bump like, look at these white motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like I always, that's what I always did, whether it was in the military or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, look at these motherfuckers over here, racist as hell. Look at them country bumpkin motherfuckers. Like, you know, that's what I always done myself.
No, for
so,
sure.
you know, this is a new thing for me, and I would like to educate myself on it because that's it. But I mean, this still kind of goes into the relationship thing. You know, how does that affect like you? How does your family feel about that? Like if you dating outside of like your culture or whatever.
Well, I think for one, like, of course, I'm sure they would like prefer.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody does.
Yep.
But
No, really. Mama said, "Don't bring the white girl home." Nah, for real, for real.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but I mean, obviously, my options were super limited. Yeah.
What, you gonna pick one of the 30 people that came? So, yeah.
Like, no, that's family. So I had to be like outside of that group.
Right.
And even then, like, pickings are slim. Oh my gosh, I keep hitting this. Yeah. So I think my parents have always, because like in school, you know, I always kind of like affiliated with Black people more anyways. Because I always, like I said, I was always like hyper aware that I'm not on the same level as the white people. They don't look at me the same. You know, it just kind of, every time I've been, and, you know, I mean, my boyfriend's white now, so we can get into that. But anytime I've been in situations, like, with people that I don't know, and, you know, I'm not going to bash, like, all white people. Obviously, not all white people are like that.
Facts. We talked about that earlier. Like, some of them whites, when you get the good whites, hey, you got a good white.
Yeah.
They got to understand, when we talking about white people, we talking about white
supremacists.
We ain't talking about, like, just white people.
And I want to tell you, you are on the same level as everybody. I know what you mean when you say that, but just for the people listening, you are on the same level. But go ahead.
Yeah, just when anytime I've been in, like, especially in college, like, really not so much when I was in high school just because I had grown up with all those people, but in college, like, you know, obviously, like, my roommates were all white for the majority of the time. I don't even think I had a colored roommate the entire time I was at UTC. But, you know, they had friends that would, like, come in and stuff and just say, like, ignorant shit. And, you know, some of that, like, is supposed to be funny and stuff, but those are, like, those microaggressions. And, like, in those moments, I'm like, okay, like, you just proved yourself. You know, like, you just proved that you don't look at me the same as you. Like, I think the biggest example was, I can't remember what year it was, but I don't know, whatever. My roommate had, like, a group of friends that would come. And, like, we would all hang out. Like, I'd partied with them a few times. And then he was, like, talking to my other friend, my Black friend, and they were going back and forth about something. And then he said something about me, and he was just like, well, I don't know why you talking or whatever. He was like, Asians are only one step under white people and whatever. And I was like, what does that mean? And so, yeah, that was a big one for me. The white guy said that? Or the white guy said that. He was like, you know, y'all are only good for, like, doctors and nurses and stuff. And, like, how am I supposed to even respond to that?
How do a person even, like, get to that type of, like, thought process?
It started when he was, like, complimenting my friend, and he was like, oh, you looking cute for a Black girl and stuff. And then, like, it just spiraled from there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so for me, I've always, like, avoided being in those situations. I've just never been comfortable around, like, big groups of white people because that's just how I've always felt. So
same with me.
Yeah.
For other reasons.
It's hard being around. It's hard being, unless you were raised, like my girlfriend, she was raised in Manchester around a group of white people. Yeah. So she always tells me, sometimes I feel like I'm too Black for white people and I'm too white for Black people, which is the craziest shit in the world. But it's, for me, like, I was raised in like, I've been in magnet school, I've been in all Black, I've been in every situation. So I feel like it's hard to be, but at the root of it, when you in a group with a group of white people, it's, you uncomfortable because you, like you said, you have that identity crisis. It's like, you're trying to stay true to yourself, right? But it's like, you also realize, like, shit, if I be my true self, which is black at its core, then these people might be uncomfortable. So you get into a situation where you're trying to make other people feel comfortable, and you shouldn't have to do that, you know?
When I come in a room full of white people, I just be super black.
Yeah.
Like I'm like you're just gonna feel that energy. Like I'm not messing it no more. I used to do that shit all the time, like even talking like them, you know what I'm saying? Just making sure I don't use slang. No, I'm gonna be black. And if you don't understand it,
it is what it is. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And listen, that's easy for you because you're a big burly motherfucker. You can knock motherfuckers out. But you imagine like Adrienne, for example, like she's a woman. We just had the episode, our last episode about women. And not only are you an Asian woman, like it's like you kind of feeling that. So it's that sense of fear there as well. It's like, what do I don't want to be too, because that guy could have easily been like aggressive to you and cause harm to you. You know what I mean? So is that there too, Yeah,
and just like people's like, it's like all fun and games and stuff until they're like, well, go back to where you came from, you know? And that's when it's like, well, I'm from here. Like, it's just crazy because it's like, all right, I was born here and stuff. This is just as much my America as it is anyone else's, but it's not, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Even with me, because, I mean, of course, my lineage go back generations, I still feel like, first of all, I love America. Let me say that. I do. I really do. I love being here. No lie. Like, but, even with me, sometimes it still feels like because it's like this Eurocentric, America is like European, even though with minorities have the biggest influence here, hands down.
Right, for sure.
Whether it's Asian, because everything you see, everything that we get made is China, is this, is that, or whether it's the entertainment side with black people, or we, we have the biggest influence here, but everything is like European. At the end of the day, they reign supreme. Sometimes I feel like, man, is there a place for me? I felt like that for a long time, and I can't even say that I felt it as nearly as much as you've probably felt it over all these years, though. And that shit is disheartening. I'll be honest. It really is, and it sucks that as a black man who I call myself righteous. You see the post. I picked all of these on the wall, from Malcolm X to Black Wall Street to Muhammad Ali. For me to consider myself so immersed into this and this blackness, this like so anti-white supremacist, I kind of gotta like slap, like I'm kicking myself in the ass, because it's like this whole time, we've had like a group here that's been facing the same BS as us,
and we ain't came together.
We hadn't came together. It's like we so caught up in our own shit. One of the things it's a thing that they rank it in the military is I'm finna fuck this up, but I'm gonna say it to the best of my ability. In the military, they rank these as like threats to America. Like you hear like DEFCON 3, all that other shit. Like it's threats to America, or to like our domestic soil. It's one of the things is outside influence to minorities within the states. Outside influence. So if for example, if China were to ever say like, hey, African Americans or black people, they don't treat y'all the way y'all should be treated. But if you come to China, or if you, X, Y, and Z, we'll treat you well. We love you. And how they can create like, I guess like double agents or spies within America. And that could be the biggest threat to like America. I read on that once. National security. That could be the biggest threat to national security. I read on that once, and it's like, wow, like, if somebody ever had a mind to, because we don't feel like this nation is ours. We don't feel like it's ours. Yeah. If anybody ever had a mind to, and that goes for even you, because you were born here. I didn't know that. I thought that you came here from, you were literally born here. Yeah. So if somebody were to ever tell you like, hey, I know they don't treat you right. Come over here. Come to death row. Come to death row if you don't want black people, or if you don't want white people beating you, mistreating you, stopping you, and pulling you over,
sending you to jail for no reason,
sending you to jail for nothing, framing you for shit you didn't do. Come to China. Like if they ever would have hit us with that, like I'm like, hey, that shit kind of sound good. Hey, if we can get treated right and we can get our 40 acres and a mule, which was promised to us. Listen, I want to say something because you said this whole time. I don't ever want you to think, because I know it's this conflict, because you are the people, I guess, that chose a side of the history more so associated with black people, right? I don't ever want you to come into a situation thinking or just trying to belittle the hate that you've experienced or the racism that you've experienced, because it's bad. It's fucked up. Yeah. Whether it's from us or whether it's from white people, I don't want you to ever belittle that and say, well, we've been through X, Y, Z, but maybe not as much as the black people. No, y'all going through shit and it's fucked up. And anybody who go against what y'all going through, they fucked up as well. Yeah. Anybody who say, oh, well, like, what the fuck are we going to have? Like a fucking who had it the worst battle? Like, no, it's bad for everybody.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, why do we try to do the oppression police? And that's what brings me back to, I think that's just that white supremacy. Them seeds just keep being sold. Yeah. They trying to divide all of us because they know if minorities, Asians, blacks, Hispanics, everybody came together.
We're not the minority no more.
We're not
exactly.
Anyway.
We're not even a minority anyway, right? We just this thing they programmed us. Really, like you said, how many Asians is it? Like billions. Like,
that's what I was gonna say earlier. I'm like, Chinese people, like, I know you was China talking alone, about though. Just China alone is bigger than like in America they're the minority, but China alone is wiping out everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We owe China money right now. So I'll be like, how do I owe China? You see tweets all the time, they be like, how am I in debt when America owe China X amount of money, you know?
Hey, bitch, get your debt in order. Then you come to me. Don't come to me about my student loans. Shit, I'm doing my best. Right. Nah, for real. I feel that. They need to get that shit right. No, man, but I just, that's kind of what I wanted to give it, get that to you like that, because it's like, I don't ever want you to belittle. And I know you're not trying to or anything like that, but I don't ever want you, because what y'all going through is fucked up. Mm-hmm. And hate anywhere is what's the saying that Malcolm X said? You would probably know it better than me, Demo.
What was it? Hate anywhere or injustice?
Injustice anywhere is Justice for one is sorry, Malcolm X. I try to make I'll be saying on Malcolm X reincarnated. Like, I guess I debunked that theory, like, because I'm not. But I do follow hate. You got a Demo?
It was actually Martin Luther King.
Oh, wow. Hey,
it's okay, brother. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Can you check that out? My rep. I don't need people. I got my rep. There's going to be a lot of motherfuckers disappointed in me for that one.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yes, he was wrong.
Finally got
God.
His ass.
Big head fucker.
Right, like... But we'll say it one more time, Demo. Injustice.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Exactly.
From Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend.
Yeah.
Man, and I think that kind of like it says a lot. That's kind of the mouthful right there. That's it. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. I don't know. I fucked it up again. Listen, brother. Listen, don't judge me.
Peach persuasion. He's gone off the peach persuasion. There go your excuse right there. His rep is back in
persuading me to wrap this up right now. Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. But regardless of any of that, man, I really want you to come back on again. I really want you to come back on with Quay, girl. She's is it like racist to say jungle Asian? She call herself a jungle Asian.
I think those are the connotations. Maybe we should get into that a little bit before we wrap up. The stereotypes within your community, because we have our, we call each other nigga, or we call each other like you black or light skinned, the colorism. Maybe we should get into that to understand exactly what we can say. The jungle versus the city. Yeah.
I mean, I really wasn't even all that aware of that stuff until I watched. If y'all watch Ali Wong on Netflix, she has like a whole little segment on like the jungle Asians, and like y'all said, like the city Asians, like the ones that are from like China, Korea. Those are like the city Asians. People look at them like with class, and then you look at like Filipinos, Laotians, and all that. We're like the jungle Asians, kind of like the. Just like I can't remember how it was put.
Oh yeah, because I think she said she's Vietnamese and her dad or her husband is Korean, and like Vietnamese people are seen as jungle from the Vietnam War, and then Korean people are seen as like the city Asians, the clean Asians.
Yeah, the clean ones. That's a big thing. Yeah, the jungle ones are the ones that foster disease and all that stuff.
That's what we do too. Them dirty niggas over there. Damn, that shit just it don't listen. Hey, we do the same shit. So it's just, I guess it's just, it doesn't stop.
Class.
Yeah. So I guess it's an issue of class, but regardless, like I would really like y'all to. The point I was trying to say, I really would like y'all to come on together because she's really like, you know, into this, and she got some statements that she want to, you know, she got a statement that she want to make as well in regards to all of this. So I would like you to come back and just educate us, because I know you put Roscoe on some shit. Because I know everything. You didn't put me on nothing. I know everything.
I swear he lying.
You know.
Except now you know we're Asian.
Except, hey. But regardless, man, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for being open and honest about everything. Listen, man, this is the ChoppedByT podcast, where we give real, raw, authentic barbershop conversations. Until next time.